Getting lean in 90 days, here's exactly how I did it. If you feel stuck in a body you don't respect, listen up. I lost 31 pounds in 90 days by doing a few key things most guys ignore. In this video, I'll show you what actually works, what to stop doing, and how to stay consistent without relying on motivation step by step. Because most guys don't fail from lack of knowledge. They start strong, fall off, then lose trust in themselves. Fix that, and everything changes. So, before I break down the exact steps I used, we need to address the mindset shifts that changed everything for me. So, the three mindsets that guarantee you stay average. Number one, I'm too old to get in great shape. I've passed my prime. Plus, at the age of 30, my metabolism is slower and my testosterone levels are lower. Now, when I heard this many times, once I hit my 30s, I even heard this before my 30s, like in my 20s, that, you know, the older you get, once you hit 30, it's kind of like you missed the boat on getting in shape and it's kind of like too late. And now, like, you have to kind of like accept where you're at with your health and your body because you're not going to have it as fast as you did when you were younger. You're not going to burn the fat as fast. You're not going to lose the weight as fast. And this is true, but at the same time, it was a mindset thing that like held me back for such a long time and it kept me fat for a very long time because of that. And so, I'm here to tell you that you need to get rid of this excuse. And if you want to really know, get your testosterones checked, your levels checked with a doctor if you really care about it. But like, don't use that as an excuse because now I'm in my 30s and I'm older and now I won't be able to, do much because I just can't. I don't have the, energy to do so. You just need to get active. That's it. And eventually things will start happening. But like, until you get rid of this mindset, you will not make progress. Second one is I'm too busy. I have too much responsibilities, not enough time to work out. I mean, here's the deal. We're all busy, right? You're busy, I'm busy. We got kids, we have a family, we have a career. Like, now, if you're tired of feeling the way you do, which is a lack of energy, now, if you're not confident in your body anymore, like when you were younger, or you probably never were because you've been overweight for such a long time or obese like I was, then it's that important to schedule this in your day. Put it on your Google Calendar, you know, and prioritize it like your life depends on it because it does. And I promise that if you do this, it will change your life. It has to be that important to you. You can't be there for other people like that saying that goes, you know, you can't fill other people's cup if you can't fill yours. You can't be on empty trying to fill people up with whatever else you got. You may not have enough or nothing at all to give unless you have that within you, which is the energy. And so you got to schedule it in. And then lastly, my body isn't as strong or capable anymore like in my younger years. Truthfully, like when I did hit my 30s, like I did start to think like, man, I feel really old now. I feel weak. Like I would go to the playground with my daughter at the parks, and instead of sitting on the benches, which I did most of the time, I would actually try to sometimes go on the slides, climb up the playground equipment, go on a swing. And the one thing I noticed was that because I was so heavy and overweight and obese, I felt dizzy just walking up there and climbing and even swinging. It's like, I was like, maybe it's because I wear glasses or something, but like, man, I just felt dizzy, like, close to being nauseous. And I was like, I guess it's just part of being older, like this is just gonna happen. And I started to think like, wow, I have like a little tiny fear of heights on the playground. Like that's crazy. A playground? And when I look back now, it's because I was out of shape. Like I wasn't really doing active things like that. And I don't know what it is. Maybe there's a scientific evidence that shows why or explanation, but like I felt like crap. And so it kind of like seems like you're just accepting like this is just what life is, as you get older. I'm not young no more, but in your 30s, like come on, like there's people that could still climb and do crazy things or active things that are not just 30, they're probably 40 or 50, you know? And so when I got in shape, like I realized that was just all an excuse because I felt like an old man in a young body because of how inactive I was. The more you stay active or get active, the more, more free you'll feel and more capable you'll feel. And as you lose the weight, you'll start to feel younger, and not just feel younger, you'll start to look younger. You'll start to have a jawline, you know? Your face leans out. You start to have some cheekbones, and your eyes will start to pop out more in a good way because the fat's not surrounding it and making it puffy, you know? And so your energy levels will increase as you lose the body fat because the body fat has a lot of inflammation as well. And so it is the fountain of youth, the most natural way. So here's my story, the struggles I went through. Like in 2022, around January, in the first picture, this is me going through a drive-through. I was gonna get some ice cream at a place called Wiener Schnitzel. It's basically like a hot dog fast food joint, and they had milkshakes, and I was getting that. And this was during the lockdowns. And when I took this picture, I was like, man, I look so fat and unhappy. And around that time, I weighed myself. This was the last time I ever weighed myself at my heaviest. It was about what 276.6 pounds. So I was basically around like almost 280, close to 300 pounds, and I'm under 6 foot in height. So you can imagine how big I really was. And I was in a relationship at this time as well. And this is me on the second picture, working from home, doing a remote job, which I hated so bad, so bad. And I also came off a 10-year relationship, a long relationship. So I was heartbroken, and I just was going through one of the worst times in my life. Like, not just mentally, but physically too, because I was going through a lot of health issues, which, on the next slide was basically, high blood pressure. And on top of that, I was dealing with gout. As you can see, the crutches here, I had to use crutches every time I had gout because I wouldn't be able to walk on one foot. Sometimes, it's like a gamble. Like if I ate bad foods, my triggers were basically sugar, starches. Some people's trigger for gout will be like maybe pork or red meat or shellfish, but in my case, it was sugar and starch. If I ate too much, and it would trigger, swelling on my ankle, on my foot, top or bottom, or my toes, which wouldn't let me walk for like a good 3 to 5 days at a time. I would get it. And the crazy part is that when I say gambling, it's like when you eat these foods because you're still craving these bad foods that are not good for you and you overdo it, the gamble is that when you eat it, you don't know if it's going to if it's going to happen on your left foot or your right foot. And you don't know exactly what spot. In my case, was it going to be the ankle? Was it going to be the toes? Was it going to be parts of my foot where I couldn't walk? It would be so bad. And gout is basically one of the worst conditions or pains. It's up there with kidney stones and pregnancy. And then you have gout. Like that's how horrible it is. It's like saying like my foot is pregnant because it was swollen for 3 to 5 days and I could barely walk or not even walk a lot. And even if you lay down on the bed, it would hurt so bad. And so, even if you're not doing nothing, just laying on the bed, like even a blanket can hurt it. That's how bad gout really is. And I would deal with this for almost 3 to 4 years, twice a month, which made it hard for me to function as a father and, really work a job or, you know, just work in general. So here are the changes I made. I eventually got tired of being, in pain and out of shape and just looking at myself, obviously, in the mirror every single day, not seeing progress. And so I started downloading MyFitnessPal, which is a food tracker app. This is where I started tracking my macros, which I'll explain later, my proteins, carbs, and fat. And then I even got a food scale to go with that to measure everything exactly. And this is my birthday right here. My first birthday ever where I didn't go out to a restaurant with family or friends. I mean, I couldn't believe it, but I'm so driven and was so driven with changing my health, number one, and just changing how I felt because of the pain I was in for such a long time. And so I was just eating this here, and I believe I was eating it with my daughter. Well, this was my meal. I had a meal for her too. But yeah, this was a ribeye steak, super delicious. And again, this was my celebration at home, just me and my daughter. And then the other game changer I did was I stopped working out at home, which I did for years, and I eventually signed up for a gym. A gym has more weights than you do at home. The heaviest weights I had was a pair of 20-pound dumbbells, and then I had a pair of 10 pounders and 5 pounders. And I would go for walks outside or jogs. Now, can you get in shape doing that? Yes, you can. But let's be real. How far can I really take it with just those things? And on top of that, when you have more weights, it puts more pressure. And you know what they say, pressure creates diamonds, right? Which means you'll get more cut up because you put yourself under more pressure, more weights, and you're around the energy of other people in the environment of the gym where everyone's pushing themselves, or we'll just say most people are pushing themselves towards the same goal of getting healthier, getting stronger, right? And so it's another motivator. Plus, hey, you might see another person there, like a woman you're attracted to, and if you're feeling weak, you might just feel stronger because you're trying to impress the chick, and you might try to do more reps. So the gym was a great place for me to really grow and make more changes and step my game up with fitness. And this is me here on the left, September 7th. I was at 200 pounds. And yeah, 90 days later, I went down to 169, so 31 pounds. My initial goal for years, and I would tell everyone, was I want to get to 170 pounds. That's my fighter weight. And eventually I surpassed it. And this is possible. I didn't know this would be possible, to be honest, until I just stayed consistent and I just did the simple plan of following the blueprint, which is basically working out, eating healthy, right? Doing the right things every day consistently. I went from having cheap haircuts, in my before photo at a great clips to getting professional haircuts and upgrading to real barbershops, you know? And it's crazy, but like my simple goal was just to really lose some weight, look a little bit better, feel a little bit better, maybe lower my blood pressure. I got way more out of it than I expected. I got more confident in myself than I've ever had. I got more fit than I've ever been in my life, even in my 20s. I mean, I beat the guy that I used to be in my 20s. And this is me almost, in my late 30s, or basically in my late 30s. And so, things can really change in a short amount of time. So here are the 4 steps on how I achieve this and how you can too. So the first I'll be covering is purpose. The second one is nutrition. The third is strength training. And lastly, I'll be covering consistency. All right. So purpose. You got to ask yourself a few questions. What is the end goal? What do you want to look like? How do you want to feel? Why does this health goal matter to you? Again, my end goal was to, just feel a little bit better, lose some weight, get a little bit leaner. I got way more out of it than I expected. What do I want to look like? I just want to look good. I want to look good in my clothes. I want to look good naked. I just want to be happy with the man I look at in the mirror. How do I want to feel? I want to feel super, super confident in who I am. And why does this health goal matter to you? For me, it was for my daughter. I want to be there for my daughter for as long as I can. Like, it hurt to think that this is going to be me forever, being fat and not being able to walk because I have a gout all the time. And I still got to pick up my daughter from school and drop her off. And I'm going to be limping at times, which I had to do because I would suffer with gout, again, for almost every month for years. It's depressing, you know what I mean? And so I want to be there for my daughter. I want to travel with her. I want to do things that I've never done with her. And I don't want to sit on the sidelines or be on the bench at the parks just because I was tired and I was fat and I just felt like I couldn't really move that much. When you're starting this journey, you don't want to give energy or thought to doubt at all. You got to surround yourself with people on a similar path, like training in a gym, like I mentioned earlier, and changing your environment, such as getting rid of the processed foods in the kitchen. You want to believe in the vision before starting the mission. Focus on where you want to go. And this is crucial, right? And let me ask you this, because this is like the biggest game changer for me when it came to all this. If someone similar to you in age, circumstances, or worse has already done what you want to achieve in health and fitness, then why not you too? Like, instead of saying, oh, they can do it, but I could never. No, if someone did it, then that means it's possible that you can do it too. Maybe it won't be exact. Maybe you can get even at least a little close to that. Or maybe you can even surpass them. But who cares, right? It's all about you doing what needs to get done because someone already has done it. They proved it. It can be done. I've seen people that are older than me that are in way more shape than me. And I was always using that excuse like I mentioned earlier, which is, "Oh, I'm 30 years old now. I won't be able to get in shape, but I still got it done." And so, if someone has done it already, why not you too? And this is a photo of me, of my daughter and I, when she was still young, and I was still pretty fat. All right, so to cover nutrition, you must eat single ingredient whole foods. How do you do this? You read the nutrition facts label at the bottom where it says ingredients to find this. Whole foods are natural foods from the earth, not made in a laboratory. They have protein, carbs, and fat. So examples of protein would be like meat, fish, eggs, and the highest quality would be examples like grass-fed beef, air-chilled chicken, wild-caught salmon, organic pasture raised eggs, which are free of corn and soy. Now, these higher qualities just have more nutrients in them and less, chemicals in them like steroids or hormones pumped into them. Now, if you can't afford these, you can always choose conventional items, which is fine um, because it's better than junk food. And then you got carbs. So you have fruits, vegetables, grains, and legumes. Organic options are best. And the reason being is because they are less um, they are less messed with, which means they have less, pesticides in them. But again, if you need to go conventional, which are not organic, those are fine too to start with. Now, fats, you can get nuts, seeds, oil, and animal fats. So, raw nuts without oils and nut butters without any other added ingredients except for salt. Avocado, coconut, and olive oils are best. You can use non-stick sprays to save time to use it sparing, but use it sparingly as calories can add up quick. Grass-fed butter, tallow, and lard are good options if you prefer. By choosing enjoyable whole foods that fit your lifestyle, you can maintain your habits long term, achieve your fitness goals, and feel satisfied along the way. Now, for sweet tooth and cravings, you can eat fruit, especially berries, which are lower in sugar, and you can use stevia or monk fruit as a sweetener for your coffee and for non fat yogurts to help satisfy the craving of sugar and won't raise your blood sugar. And plus, they're higher in fiber too when it's, fruits like berries, like strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. And then how many meals per day? You want to have about 3 to 5 meals with protein to help build muscle and keep your blood sugar steady, which helps you avoid getting hungry. And a big one here is drink water. At least half your body weight in ounces in the beginning. And then you want to build up to 1 gallon per day. And so if you are 200 pounds, then start by drinking 100 ounces of water per day and progress from there. Water will help reduce your hunger, support your metabolism, give you energy, stronger muscle contractions at the gym, and it improves your endurance and you'll have less cramping, dizziness in the gym. If you haven't already, you got to download the MyFitnessPal app, which is a food tracker, and then buy a food scale to start weighing your foods. Remember, tracking is the first step to progress. All right, so here's an easy calories and macro guide. Now, before we figure this out, you got to measure your body fat percentage. You can use any tool, honestly. It doesn't really matter if it's perfect. You just want to get an idea of where you're at with your body fat. You can use like a skin caliper, which, pinches the body fat on your belly. You can use a DEXA scan if you want. There's even scales that, you can step on that measure your body fat. Again, they're not going to be perfect. You just want to get an idea of where your body fat is. And I'll explain why in a little bit. So number one, to find your daily calories, you got to multiply your weight in pounds by 11. So example, if you're 200 pounds, multiply that by 11, you get 2,200 calories per day to lose weight. And know the calories per gram. So a protein is, and carbs is the same thing. It's 4 calories per gram. And then fats are a little bit higher. It's 9 calories per gram. So when I say per gram, when you measure, like, let's just say you're measuring like chicken breast for protein, right? You put it on this scale, a food scale. Each gram, when you put it on the grams measurement, each gram is 4 calories. And all that will total, your total calories when you track all your food. I hope that makes sense. So to figure out your protein, if you have 2,200, to figure out your protein, it's 1 gram per pound of body weight. Now, remember earlier when I mentioned you got to measure your body fat? If you are under 20% body fat, then you can use this rule right here. You can use 1 gram per pound of body weight, which means that if you're 200 pounds and, and 20% and under in body fat, you can use this rule, right? 1 gram per pound of body weight, which means if you're 200 pounds and you're 20% or below in body fat, then you can take your weight, and that's exactly how much protein you can have per day. Now, if you're over 20% body fat, let's say you're like, 21% to 30% body fat, which means you have a lot of body fat. You want to not follow the 1 gram per pound of body weight, but choose 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight. So if your goal is, I want to get to 170 pounds, then you're going to use 170 pounds, which is your goal weight, as how much protein you're going to have. So again, if you're over 20% body fat, you're going to focus on your ideal goal body weight. And that's how much protein in grams you're going to eat. And then for fats, you're going to get a range of 60 to 80 grams per day. Fats obviously help with your hormones. And so you want to usually start in the middle, like 70 grams is my recommendation. But again, you can even start at like, 80 or close to 80. And then eventually you're going to start dropping that as the weeks go by based off, your progress. And then lastly, carbs. How do you figure out your carbs? You fill the rest of your calories with carbs. So in the beginning, we figured out our total calories, 2,200. We got our protein, which minus is 800 calories. And then we got our fats, which took off 630 calories. And now we have 770 calories left. So because carbs are 4 calories per gram, we're going to get 770 calories divided by 4 calories per gram for a carb. Now you get 193 grams of carbs total. So here's the daily macros for a 200-pound person. That's under 20%. That's 20% or below in body fat. 200 grams of protein, 70 grams of fat, and then carbs is 193 grams of carbs. So you can realistically lose 1 to 3 pounds per week safely with these macros. If weight stalls a couple of weeks, you can tweak slightly. You can either drop 200 calories or add 5 minutes of cardio the next week. You must choose one, but only adjust if you've been consistently following the plan. You don't want to adjust it if you haven't been following the plan to the T, because it's not the plan, it's you not following the plan. Now, once you follow the plan, consistently for the week, then you can see truly if you need to make adjustments. You don't want to punish yourself by cutting your calories or adding more cardio if you're not following the plan. So follow the plan as best you can, and then you can make the adjustments the next week. All right, so strength training. You must commit to a structured workout plan weekly. Begin by searching for a simple plan online. In my case, I used Google search engine. So look for beginner, intermediate, or advanced workout plans that you can start with. You can choose how many days you can work out. So between 3 to 5 days is good. For example, I would search like a beginner 3-day upper lower split workout. That's what I would type on Google. Lastly, for cardio, you can start with 15 to 20 minutes of walking on a treadmill with a speed of 2.5 to 3.5 miles per hour at an incline of 3 to 5% after each workout session. If the speed and incline is easy, you can raise the intensity. If it's too much, you can lower the intensity until it becomes easy. Then you can progress from there. And you don't have to start with a treadmill. If you want to do a stationary bike, you can. You can even do a elliptical. So it's really up to you what you feel comfortable with. But the whole goal is to start small, and eventually raise the intensity as you go. And if you have any injuries, make sure you check with your doctor first before starting an exercise regimen. Once you get the green light, you can always go light at first and then move up the weights as long as you are not feeling any pain during the movement. Also, you can always modify the workouts with certain gym machines that don't put too much stress on the injured area, such as using a Smith machine for squats if you have knee issues slash pain for stability and control. And finally, we got consistency. You trust the process and keep going. Now that you have a plan, you must stick to it no matter what. You must execute, execute, execute. With consistency, over time, you will get to your desired health and body goal. Now, if you want results like you've never experienced, you are going to have to become a different person to achieve those things. That new version of you can only be reached by having higher standards and taking actions on the 4 steps I laid out. Now, if it took you a while to get out of shape, it will take some time to get in amazing shape. So eventually you'll look back and realize every bit of effort was worth it. I promise the new version of you is waiting, but you can only meet him now if you start now. I promise the new version of you is waiting, but you can only meet him if you start now. So where do you go from here? So where do you go from here? If you've made it this far, I know one thing. You're a driven individual. You're ready for massive results in your health, your body, your mindset, and your life. I've laid out everything you need to hit your fitness goals, and the plan is simple as long as you commit. But if you need help and you are done looking at the past as if your days are behind you, tired of feeling stuck in a body you don't recognize, ready to build a body that commands respect, eager to become a confident man who no longer makes excuses, driven to be the man full of energy who can keep up with his family, then coaching might be exactly what you need. The extra push, accountability, and guidance can make all the difference. I'll give you a custom blueprint tailored to your goals. No guesswork, no thinking required. Just follow the plan, take action, and I'll be there every step of the way. I've been through the ups and downs and training and nutrition myself. And even I have a coach to keep me on track. So here's what I can do for you. I will help you lose 20 to 35 pounds in 90 days or less. And here's the best part. This is completely risk-free. If after 30 days you don't feel stronger, leaner, and more confident in your progress, you won't owe me a thing. I'll refund you in full. If you're serious about transforming your body and your life, click the link below, book your call, and let's see if you're a good fit for the program. We're committed to real results. If we can't help, you'll know before the call. So you only move forward when it makes sense. Stop waiting. Start your transformation today.